Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Convert to Islam Stories, our YouTube channel dedicated to sharing inspiring narratives of individuals who have embraced Islam. In this captivating series, we dive into the inspiring narrative of Keely's profound transformation and her embrace of Islam. Follow along as we delve into her thought-provoking exploration of faith, spirituality, and the quest for truth.
That one of my confirmation teachers actually was very honest with us and said that there are parts of the Bible that are false and we don't know what parts that is, because she kind of explained that it was like a game of telephone where it was passed down for many years before it was written down. There wasn't really much preservation, so that's just what I was told. Honestly, I was very grateful for the honesty.
From the turbulent years of adolescence, where existential questions loomed large, to her encounters with various belief systems, Keely's story is a testament to the power of introspection and open-mindedness. Discover her relentless pursuit of knowledge and understanding as she navigates through different religions, absorbing their teachings and searching for that which resonates with her soul. Join us as we witness the pivotal moments that lead Keely to Islam, including enlightening conversations, eye-opening revelations, and the unwavering conviction that unfolds on her path. Through her experiences, we are reminded of the beauty and richness of Islam and the transformative power it holds for those who embrace it. Stay tuned for an enlightening and heartfelt journey as we unravel the chapters of Keely Maryum's extraordinary story.
Before that, please subscribe and turn on the notification to receive updates on other inspiring stories.
Keely Maryum, the host of a popular online channel, decided to open up and share her personal journey of conversion. Initially hesitant due to its deeply personal nature, she finally felt comfortable enough to reveal her story to her audience. She believed that starting from her childhood was crucial to paint a complete picture of her upbringing and religious background, as religion plays a significant role in everyone's life. Keely was born and raised in a small, conservative town in Canada. The community she grew up in consisted mainly of white Christians and atheists, which limited her exposure to different cultures and beliefs.
I was born and raised in a very small conservative town in Canada. I didn't really grow up with a lot of different types of people. I was mostly surrounded by white Christians and atheists. That's kind of what I knew growing up, was Christianity and atheism. And I really didn't even know what atheism was until I was probably like in grade 9. I didn't even know what that was.
Her early encounters were predominantly centered around Christianity and atheism, and she admitted that she hadn't even heard of atheism until she reached 9th grade. The lack of diversity and exposure to different perspectives influenced her understanding of the world. Being raised in a Christian household, Keely's religious upbringing was relatively moderate. Attending church on Sundays was a regular occurrence, but it didn't dominate every aspect of her life. Like many other Christian children, she found herself pondering numerous questions about the faith and how it all worked. One particular aspect that puzzled her was the concept of the Trinity. She vividly remembered asking her mother if Jesus was God, seeking clarification on this complex topic.
And I feel like a lot of other Christian kids, I had so many questions about Christianity and how the religion works. So one thing that I was always quite confused with was the Trinity. I remember even asking my mom if Jesus was God. I remember my mom explaining to me that at the time, obviously, that we believed that Jesus was the Son of God.
Her mother explained that Jesus was considered the Son of God, which added to her confusion. Keely emphasized that her intention was never to disrespect anyone's beliefs or pass judgment on them. She firmly believed that individuals were entitled to their own beliefs, and she respected their choices.
I just found that quite confusing. And I want to clarify that I mean no disrespect to anybody. You can believe what you want to believe in. That's perfectly fine. I'm not judging anybody for that. I'm not criticizing anybody for that. You can believe in what you want to believe in, and I respect your decision.
Throughout her adolescence, Keely went through a process called confirmation, which typically occurs around the age of 13 or 14. This involved reaffirming her faith, attending weekly classes, and revisiting the teachings of Christianity. During this time, one of her confirmation teachers revealed something unexpected and eye-opening. There were parts of the Bible that could be deemed as false or inaccurate. The teacher explained that the transmission of biblical stories over centuries resembled a game of telephone, where information changed over time due to oral transmission before finally being written down.
That one of my confirmation teachers actually was very honest with us and said that there are parts of the Bible that are false and we don't know what parts that is, because she kind of explained that it was like a game of telephone where it was passed down for many, many years before it was written down. There wasn't really much preservation, so that's just what I was told. Honestly, I was very grateful for the honesty.
Keely expressed her gratitude for the teacher's honesty, appreciating the acknowledgement of historical and interpretive challenges surrounding the Bible. These experiences from childhood to adolescence had a significant impact on Keely's spiritual journey. The questions and uncertainties she had about Christianity, coupled with the realization of potential inaccuracies in religious texts, eventually led her to explore different paths and question her own faith. As Keely reached adolescence, around the age of 15 or 16, she found herself increasingly questioning religion. It was a period of deep introspection and existential pondering, a phase that many individuals go through during their teenage years.
Well, when I reached the point of adolescence, probably when I was about like 15, 16, maybe around there, I really started to question religion and I started to think about things a lot more deeply. I think this is a point in any person's life when you start to think about certain topics like existence and what happens when you go, basically. And
the uncertainties surrounding existence and the afterlife weighed heavily on her mind, creating a sense of restlessness and existential crisis. During this time, Keely was surrounded by a predominantly atheist environment, which further fueled her doubts about her own religious beliefs. She began to question how she could be certain that her religion was the true one when there were so many other belief systems in the world that she had never explored. This internal struggle left her in a state of confusion as she embarked on a quest to find a belief system that resonated with her and that she genuinely agreed with.
Existential crisis in a way. And also at this point, I was surrounded by a lot of atheists, and so I think that really made me start questioning my own religion, and it made me start to think, like, how do I know that this religion is the true religion when there's so many other religions out there?
Keely oscillated between agnosticism and belief in God, finding it challenging to keep track of her evolving thoughts and emotions. She ventured into researching various religions, although she couldn't possibly delve into every single one due to the vast array of belief systems in existence. Among the paths she explored were paganism, Wicca, spirituality, Buddhism, Hinduism, and others.
But obviously I didn't look into all of them. I think there's so many religions out there, I don't know if that's even possible. But I would look into like paganism, Wicca, like spirituality, Buddhism, Hinduism, things like that, because I thought I was looking for something that was so different from what I initially believed in.
She believed that she needed to find something radically different from what she had initially known, leading her to begin with the religions that appeared the least similar to her upbringing. Her search continued for an extended period, but she couldn't find a belief system that deeply resonated with her. While she gained valuable insights into different people's beliefs and perspectives, none of the religions she studied compelled her to fully embrace and practice them. It became evident that she was learning valuable lessons along the way, even though she remained in a state of spiritual exploration rather than commitment.
And so I was searching for a very long time. I never really found anything that stuck, and I think I did learn a lot. So I think I learned a lot of valuable things about different people and different people's beliefs. So I think I did come out with some valuable lessons, but none of these really stuck out to me. I never really practiced any of these religions. I was just sort of learning.
Throughout this period, she maintained the habit of prayer, adapting her approach depending on her mindset and the concepts she was exploring at any given time. Sometimes she prayed to God, while other times she directed her prayers towards an unknown higher power or the universe. Interestingly, during this phase, Keely never delved into Islam, Judaism, or any Abrahamic faith. Although she had limited exposure to Muslims and lacked knowledge about Islam, she had heard that Muslims believed in the same God as Christians.
I will say too that the entire time, like regardless of what point I was in my life, I would still pray all the time. At certain points I would pray to God, at other times I would pray to some sort of unknown higher power, other times I would pray to the universe. It just kind of depended on where my mindset was at and what I was kind of looking into at the moment, I guess.
However, she perceived these religions as too similar to her upbringing, seeking something more drastically different and distinctive. Thus, she never truly explored Islam, leaving it uninvestigated and misunderstood. Reflecting on her past, Keely found it interesting to note her strong opposition to Islamophobia, despite having limited knowledge about Islam. Even though she hadn't explored the religion extensively, she always stood against any form of discrimination towards Muslims and vehemently opposed Islamophobic rhetoric. Keely would promptly shut down Islamophobic conversations and felt deeply upset whenever she encountered such prejudice. While she also advocated against other forms of discrimination, for some reason, Islamophobia struck a chord with her, and she held a passionate belief that Muslims were not to be feared.
Something that I find interesting though, looking back on, is that I was very anti-Islamophobia. Like, I didn't know much about Islam, but I was very much against Islamophobia. I would always immediately shut down any type of Islamophobia, and I would get really upset when people were Islamophobic. And so there were other types of discrimination that I was obviously always against.
She was acutely aware of the media's role in spreading negative stereotypes and anti-Muslim propaganda. From a young age, Keely would question why some adults portrayed Muslims as scary or inherently bad. She couldn't understand why certain groups were labeled as bad while others were considered good. These thoughts and questions intensified during her adolescence, allowing her to think more critically about these biases.
I was always quite aware of a lot of the propaganda that was spread by the media, very anti-Muslim propaganda, I guess you could say. So yeah, I would always just question why adults were saying that Muslims are so scary or that these certain people are just inherently bad. Like, I always questioned why this one group of people is bad and we're good. I never really understood why people...
When Keely enrolled in university in a different city, she found herself surrounded by a diverse community comprising individuals from various ethnicities, cultures, and religious backgrounds. It was during this time that she met her husband through mutual friends. Their conversations often revolved around religion, although at the time, Keely held an agnostic mindset. She hadn't yet been exposed to the philosophy of science, which she later learned during her liberal arts education. This gap in her knowledge led her to adopt an inclination towards scientism, considering science as an absolute truth without recognizing its fallibility due to its human nature.
So at the time, I was in a very agnostic mindset when I met my husband, and not really having philosophy of science taught to me, because I feel like that's very important, and I never learned that until quite a bit later in my education when, interestingly enough, I was actually doing a liberal arts class. I think this is a problem that I kind of ran into in thinking that science was an absolute truth. And
Keely acknowledged that many science students and individuals often fell into this trap. When Keely and her future husband engaged in discussions about religion, she approached the subject with her scientism-influenced mindset, asking questions specifically about science and seeking to understand Islam's stance on scientific matters. Through their conversations, debates, and exchanges of ideas, a transformation began to take place within Keely. Gradually, she started to regain her belief in God.
But I think I would have a lot of questions about science specifically and asking about what Islam said about it. And I feel like I was very much obviously in the mindset of scientism, so I was kind of coming at religion from that point of view. And so eventually, through us talking and kind of debating about religion, I eventually started to believe in God again.
Since her previous knowledge of God was rooted in Christianity, she naturally gravitated towards revisiting the Christian faith. She delved into studying Christianity once again, reading the Bible, but her questioning nature persisted even as she identified as a Christian. After getting engaged, Keely felt a strong desire to learn more about Islam before proceeding with marriage. Her husband, though willing to help, sometimes struggled to answer her questions due to language barriers and unfamiliarity with certain religious terms. Recognizing the need for further guidance, he suggested taking her to a mosque during a class for reverts. Unfortunately, on the day they went, the class was cancelled.
As English isn't his native language, and so sometimes he didn't know some of the words for certain religious terms. So he offered to take me to the mosque when there was a class running for reverts. So I ended up going, and the class was actually cancelled on the day that I went.
However, a few reverts who were unaware of the cancellation still attended. It was during this visit that Keely had a chance encounter with a white Canadian lady who had embraced Islam 15 or 20 years ago. This encounter proved to be an eye-opening experience for Keely since she had previously only encountered non-white Muslims. During their conversation, the lady provided Keely with a basic understanding of Islam, explaining the pillars of Islam and offering pamphlets. One pamphlet discussed the pillars of Islam, while another delved into the scientific evidence supporting Islamic teachings.
Yeah, I was talking to this lady. She was showing me the basics of Islam, about the pillars. She also grabbed me some pamphlets. So she got me a pamphlet, I think, on the pillars of Islam. And then I think there was another pamphlet on sort of the scientific evidence for Islam. That one was actually a really important one for me because before then, it was hard to kind of figure out how science and religion can kind of coexist.
This particular pamphlet resonated with Keely as it helped bridge the gap between science and religion. The lady also provided Keely with a list of YouTube channels and videos to explore. She took Keely to the prayer area, allowing her to witness congregational prayer firsthand. Upon returning home, Keely began exploring the recommended videos and resources. The first video she watched was a reverting Muslim sharing his personal journey, which struck a chord with her. Many aspects of his early life resonated with her own experiences and questions.
When I went home, I did eventually look into some of these videos, and the first video that I watched was actually very eye-opening. It was this man talking about his revert story, and a lot of the things in his early life really resonated with me.
The video also shed light on how Islam addressed some of the questions she had about Christianity, particularly regarding Jesus, peace be upon him. Learning about the Islamic perspective on Jesus, peace be upon him, and how it differed from Christianity started making sense to Keely, prompting her to seriously consider Islam. Even after marriage, religion remained a topic of discussion between Keely and her husband. She expressed her desire to further explore Islam, and as she delved deeper, she found that it aligned with her personal beliefs.
So then me and my husband ended up getting married. I was still Christian at the time and he was obviously Muslim, and then so we would sometimes talk about religion still, and I wanted to look more into Islam after we got married, and so the more that I looked into it, the more I started to realize that this kind of aligns with my personal belief. It was something that I was starting to agree with. And
Keely's thirst for knowledge led her to watch videos, read online resources, and continue her passionate habit of reading. She sought out recommended books, including the Quran, to expand her understanding. Her curiosity drove her to explore Islam's perspective on various topics, engaging in debates, lectures, and a wide range of content. Keely found the stories of the prophets, peace be upon them, particularly captivating as they highlighted the distinctions between Islam and Christianity.
every little bit that I would learn, I would want to know more. And so I would keep searching more and more about Islam just to find out what Islam says on certain things, and I would watch debates, I would watch lectures, I would watch just different things to try to learn more, and I was very fascinated specifically with stories of the prophets, peace be upon them.
Interestingly, Keely initially kept her learning process somewhat hidden from her husband. It wasn't a deliberate act of concealment, but rather a desire to explore Islam independently. She would read and watch videos on her phone, occasionally waiting for her husband to leave for work before diving deeper into her research. However, her growing interest did not go unnoticed, and there were moments when she couldn't contain her excitement and would share her discoveries with her husband through text messages while he was at work. They engaged in discussions and exchanged questions during these exchanges.
But then there would be points when he would go to work and I would find something that was just so fascinating and I would just start texting him. Like, I couldn't hide it anymore, so I would just text him and be like, did you know this? Like, this is so cool. And so we would just have a discussion like over text, like when he was at work, and I would be asking him questions and things like that.
Around 2 to 3 months into her research, Keely made the firm decision to convert to Islam. She conveyed this to her husband and set the goal of observing fasting during Ramadan that year. Initially, she planned to convert immediately after Ramadan.
And so probably like 2 to 3 months into researching, I decided that I wanted to convert to Islam. I decided that this was what I really wanted. So I told my husband that, and I made the decision that I would be fasting that year during Ramadan. So I did. And the decision initially was that I was going to convert right after Ramadan.
However, several factors caused her conversion to take a slower path. One significant factor was her desire to wear the hijab. After learning about the reasons behind wearing the hijab in Islam, Keely felt a strong inclination towards it.
But that didn't really happen because of a number of things, honestly. It's kind of hard to describe or to talk about this, but I feel like part of it was that I wanted to wear the hijab. Like, I decided, because once I learned about the reasons for wearing hijab in Islam, I decided that that's what I wanted to wear, but I wanted to be able to wear it immediately, and I think that was kind of my mistake.
However, she hesitated due to concerns about immediate identification as a Muslim and the potential reactions she might encounter. Another reason for her gradual conversion was her fear of not being good enough. She wanted to be well-versed in performing the 5 daily prayers and strive to be an overall better person. After 2 years of contemplation and continuous learning, Keely finally decided to convert to Islam. She had spent the time familiarizing herself with Islamic practices, such as learning how to pray and gaining knowledge about the faith.
Really, you can be Muslim and still be imperfect. You don't have to be perfect at everything. Nobody's perfect at everything. That's just how we are. Like, as humans, we're not perfect. I think it took me like 2 years to actually convert once I decided that I wanted to. So by the time I did convert, I was able to know how to pray, and I put on the hijab pretty much immediately after converting.
When she finally took her Shahada, declaration of faith, she felt a mixture of happiness and relief. It was an incredible moment for her, although she didn't experience a sudden transformation. Since she had already believed in Islam for a significant period, the transition from being a non-Muslim to a Muslim felt more like a continuation of her existing beliefs rather than a stark contrast.
So 2 years after wanting to be Muslim, after deciding that I wanted to be Muslim, I finally took my Shahada. Yeah, it was just a really incredible moment for me. I was really happy. I think I almost started crying, but at the same time, I didn't really feel different, obviously. But I don't know why, but I expected to kind of feel different, to feel all of a sudden oh, I'm a Muslim.
Thank you all for joining me today and being a part of Keely's inspiring journey. Her story of conversion to Islam is a testament to the power of self-discovery, openness, and embracing different perspectives. Through her experiences, Keely reminds us that Islamophobia can be challenged and that understanding and compassion can bridge divides. Keely's journey highlights the importance of questioning societal narratives, seeking knowledge, and finding personal truth. If you found her story touching and relatable, don't forget to like this video, comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating convert to Islam stories. Stay connected as we continue to share narratives of individuals finding purpose and truth in Islam. Together, let's celebrate the beauty of faith and create a supportive community. Like, comment, and subscribe to be part of our growing family. Assalamu alaikum.